Good to be here on this Wednesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, so much to get to here on the show. Certainly a lot of Braves talk as we have game number 4 coming up tonight from Los Angeles. We'll have some bonus coverage of Astros and Red Sox for you coming up at 5 o'clock. That'll lead you up to full Braves coverage at 6:50, but did want to give you some extra bonus coverage there of Astros and Red Sox. We'll get to the Braves coming up just momentarily. Doc Herbert, Platinum Sombrero Podcast, will join us. We'll talk Braves baseball with him. Also on the show, we'll hear from Florida State head football coach Mike Norvell. Year number 2 for him. Certainly a lot of challenges. Came in the COVID year, and now year number 2 trying to get back to a level that Florida State fans expect at the end of the day. So he will join us coming up in hour number 2. And also Adam Witten. He is the voice of the Appalachian State Mountaineers. A couple of things to talk about with Adam. One, App State and Coastal Carolina playing tonight in Sun Belt play, undefeated Coastal Carolina on ESPN2. And also a lot of rumors, smoke, speculation that the Sun Belt is on the verge of expansion, potentially bringing in the Marshall and Southern Miss, at least as a starting point. So a lot of folks saying that might be the teetotal end of Conference USA after the AAC announcing plans to expand, the Big 12 ripping some from teams in expansion. And if the Sun Belt comes in, I mean, what's left of the Conference USA at that point? We'll get to Adam Witten in about 30 minutes, and he'll join us there. But fellas, last night, wow. Braves fandom. I have to calm Christian down. Other people say, look, ain't no curses when it comes to this thing, but that one hurt last night because I even told somebody, like, look, it's 5-2. It's set up the way Brian Snicker wants it, where you go Matzik, Luke Jackson, or Jackson, Tyler Matzik, Will Smith, and you try to get out of there 3-0, and then it kind of the wheels fell off. Which again, the Dodgers are a good team. I think if you thought this Braves team was going to go 4-0. That might have been a pipe dream, but that would hurt because I feel like that was one you felt like set up nicely for the Braves to finish off.
Yeah, and Kevin, look, man, I trust you in moments like this. When I first came into the office, I saw Christian. We made eye contact. We were thinking the same thing, and that was this is a turn of events, a momentum switch that's going to be very difficult to overcome. I think Atlanta is, of course, capable of winning this series. They still have the edge. They still have the upper hand. But when you think about where you were, right, where you were in the 8th inning, you had a 2-0 lead, and you were a couple of outs away from having a 3-0 lead, which nobody expected, to go from that in the blink of an eye to all of a sudden you're down 6-5. You have the huge home run by Bellinger, and then you have Mookie Betts obviously doing his thing. I think it was a situation where momentum was right there. You lost it, and these first couple of innings to me, Ben, are going to be critically important tonight to see if the Braves can respond.
The doctor shows you why they are a very, very dangerous team. I mean, I'm gonna give you my quick timeline. Kevin and BJ, I'm at Christian's, Christian's crib. I mean, shout out to Christian's little brother turned 19 yesterday. So, and I can see Christian like staring at the game, and I'm saying, oh man, Braves up 5-2. I think it was at the top of the 7th. And I'm thinking to myself, I will not be here at the bottom of the 8th. I don't care what happens. I'm not going to be here. This is the hat I had on yesterday. I was going to say it was the hat's fault, BJ. No, it don't glow in the dark. No. It's only 4 teams remaining. The Dodgers are one of the best teams in baseball. They're the best team in the National League. Take nothing away from the Braves. Kevin keeps saying, in order to I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry. I'm just going today. That is my fault.
Ben, it's radio. You got to have the microphone in front of your face.
Listen, I apologize. I am tripping. It's one of those days. I mean, it kind of show you what my night was. I apologize to the listeners. But at Christian's crib, they're winning the game. And I said, BJ, I'm thinking to myself, dude, just don't let them start a rally. And it started. And I will say this. It would have been beautiful to have gone up 3-0, right? Beautiful. But sometimes you got to remember who you playing against. And I think and I'm not saying the Braves are looking past the Dodgers. That's not what I'm saying. Braves are up 3-1 last year. Sometimes you got to remember, look, man, you got to finish the job. An inning with the Dodgers is all they need. All they got to do is start a rally. But I'm not one of those people that are jumping off the bandwagon. I ain't saying, oh, that's it. It's over. I don't think it's over. I think that, this Braves team understand that, look, man, you got to be able to come out, got to maintain leads. You got to maintain poise. And look, for 7 innings, you did your thing. And then that dreaded 8th, here it comes. And Look, they score runs in bunches, just like the Braves do, but I still got a lot of faith in this Braves team. It's not going to be easy because everybody knows in order to get to that World Series, either you got to play, you got to deal with those Dodgers. The Braves know, but shout out to those Dodgers, man. I mean, they came back and handled their business. They did not show any panic when they was down 5-2. They win 6-5. I hated it. I'm not gonna act like it didn't get to me, Kevin and BJ, but sometimes, when you got that immovable object known as the Dodgers, you got to find a way to get it done. Because until you get it done, it's going to be a bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But, hey, Braves are up 2-1. And I do agree with something Kevin said. Winning 4 games in a row is not the easiest thing for anybody to do. Baseball, basketball, no matter what it is. But come on, Braves, man. You got another one today with them Dodgers, man, because those fans will be rocking. Guaranteed tonight.
Yeah, and look, I saw Luke Jackson catching a lot of flack. Obviously, he was the guy that gave up the 3-run homer to Cody Bellinger, and again, it was a good pitch. It was not a strike. It was elevated, and dude went up and got it. That's what guys like that do. You have to be almost perfect. But look, Luke Jackson, for as much as folks like to ride on him, he has been phenomenal. I saw a stat earlier to look his ERA coming down the stretch of the season in the postseason was 1. I mean, what more do you want from a guy coming out of the bullpen? He and Tyler Matzik have pitched in every single game so far in the postseason for the Atlanta Braves. He has been phenomenal. And I think you'll kind of see that Bobby Cox mentality out of Brian Snitker, BJ, where if it comes down to it, don't be surprised if the Braves are up, if you go right back to Luke Jackson again tonight to try to go out there and get the job done. And it's such a day-to-day thing where baseball fans, dude can be good for 2 weeks and you have one bad inning and it's, this guy's terrible. And it's like, I think there was one of those times where Luke Jackson finally had a bad night. And that was obviously an inopportune time to have it. But Luke Jackson's a big reason why you're in this position in the National League Championship Series. So I think you probably end up going back to him again. We'll see how they get used tonight, depending on the score and situation, obviously. But it looks like the Braves going to go with a bullpen game. Maybe A.J. Minter gets to start, something like that. But if you're looking at this from Brian Snicker's standpoint, how do you feel about running certain guys out there? I was actually surprised that we didn't see Will Smith out there with 2 outs pitching to Mookie Betts. I know you go, it's all about, look, put in that situation, tie ball game. If Will Smith's the best you got in the bullpen, put my best on their best and see if we can't get one out. And you're still tied going to the 9th inning, which kind of changes the dynamic as opposed to being down and trying to hit off that filthiness from Kenley Jansen. So if you're Brian Snitker, how are you looking at Luke Jackson and those guys tonight?
I'm going right back to Luke Jackson, and I think the point you made is the right one. I know a lot of people look at the box score or just have that home run replay playing over and over again, and you have to understand not only was that a pitch that was outside of the zone. I saw Kevin kind of a heat map of the strike zone for Bellinger, and at least recently he's been struggling up in the zone. So if you look at the heat map, Luke Jackson threw the ball into the blue, and Cody Bellinger turned on it. And he's, one of the best power hitters in baseball. But Jackson's been your best reliever. He's been elite. He's had an ERA for much of the season below 2. Not sure where it is right now, but he's earned the right to be that 7th inning guy, that 8th inning guy, that setup guy, that shut it down guy. And for the most part, he's done it. And I think Tyler Matzik, for the most part, has been really, really good. I think you still trust those guys. Now, Will Smith, I think all of us understand his role, but we have some trepidation. I think we'd be lying if we didn't say that. But look, Atlanta, this is going to be a test of resiliency because whether we want to admit it or not, when the Braves were up 5-2 in the 8th inning, every single Braves fan was looking around going, we're about to be up 3-0 on the Dodgers. Surely you can't mess that up. And look, Ben made a great point as well. The Dodgers are the Dodgers for a reason, especially at home. Atlanta still is in the driver's seat, I think. You're up 2-1. You'll have Max Fried again soon. We'll see what happens tonight. But the first couple of innings are going to be a real test of your maturity, your resiliency, because, Ben, you're right. That stadium's going to be rocking. The Dodgers have all the momentum. Can the Braves respond in the first couple of innings? And, Ben, I do want to tell you this. Everybody's giving you a hard time for not having the mic. I didn't have mine plugged in either at the start. That's why Kevin was looking around. So I apologize to Cam, Kevin, the listener. So, Ben, you and I were on the same page there of not being on the right page. But I think first couple of innings, to me, Ben, going to be very important tonight.
I understand that games determine matchups, but I like what you said, BJ. If you snitch, you You go with who got you here. It's not a time to be panicking. I mean, what would it say about Snit is, because of one game, here I am just trying to switch up everything I do. Now, I know, Kevin, nobody gets more, flack about how he uses that bullpen than Snit. But it's one game, and it is the Dodgers. I mean, and the thing about it is, if you are the Braves, you're like, all right, this is what happened last year, right, fellas? Only last year it was 3-1, and then those guys woke up. We can't allow ourselves to lose our poise. What got the Braves here is confidence and poise. I don't think they lack either one yesterday. They just got beat. Doesn't mean the Dodgers are a better team. They just got beat. If the Dodgers going, listen, we don't know. I'm looking in the stands last night, and every other pick they showing them Dodgers fans putting their heads down. I still think the Braves are the most dangerous team, even if they're not the best team left in these playoffs. They got just as good a shot as any. Don't lose your mind. As my coach, just calm down. And BJ Bennett, just calm down. Just relax. But I give the Braves a good a shot as any, BJ and Kevin, because sometimes, it's like you say, Kevin, the hardest out. So it used to be those last three. Now when he died, it's those last six. Those are very, very hard to get. But I still give the Braves a lot of credit. I still give the Braves, because at the end of the day, the Dodgers going to hopefully bring out the same thing the Braves did for them last night. Hopefully to bring out the best of them tonight, especially BJ, if they got to fight back from a deficit like the Dodgers did last night.
And again, you're facing Julio Urias tonight for the Dodgers, and certainly I think patience, the game plan. I think the Dodgers, I want to say, used 9 pitchers last night, BJ and Ben. So you want to, and again, I think the game plan is, I was talking Christian about this, the strategy of the bullpen games, but they use 9 pitchers. You want to get Julio Urias out of the game. Go back to the bullpen and make those Dodgers go use them up again, knowing tomorrow there's not a good option to start for LA, and they're going to have to use a number of arms tomorrow as well. So all's not lost, but again, it's something about being out there in Dodger Stadium for this Braves team. I still don't believe in curses, but the Braves have lost 10 in a row at Dodger Stadium. And maybe that's got to flip tonight at the end of the day, right? I mean, at some point, something's going to bounce your way out there at Dodger Stadium. I would hope anyway.
Well, that's the law of averages, right? I mean, each game the Dodgers win at home makes it more likely the Braves will win the next one. At least I think that's how it's supposed to work. But Kevin, you make another good point there about the bullpens, because the ripple effect is what matters when you play so many postseason games where every pitch is critical, and you play back to back, and you play three games in 4 days or something like that. Your bullpen gets worn down, especially after a full regular season of usage. So if you can force the Dodgers, LA, to go to the bullpen early, that not only has an impact on potentially the next game, but I think the entire series. And correspondingly, we'll get into this later. How does Atlanta manage its bullpen, given that Matzik and Jackson and Chavez, all pitched yesterday? So a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainties, but I do think the first couple of innings tonight will set the tone for the rest of the series.
Listen, man, I know I messed up with the mic. If you go on this live stream, you see who I'm rocking with, right? You know who I'm rocking with. I only rock with the best. Love of the brim, but it's all about that logo. Let's go Bravos, man. Let's get one.
And we've got more. When we come back, we will hear from Doc Herbert, Platinum Sombrero Podcast. We'll talk about last night, how this Braves team is going to manage it moving forward. He'll join us next here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. He gave some momentum there to a Dodgers team that looked pretty flat up until that moment.
It's tough because you could make the case that we should actually be down 2-1 by having lost the 2 games we won and having won the game that we lost. So the tricky part is, last year when this happened, Braves went up 2-0 and they lost game 3. That was a neutral site. The problem became that you did it in front of 51,000 people at Dodger Stadium. So that's a very intimidating environment. So being down 2-1 isn't the same at Dodger Stadium as it is somewhere else, because they're kind of like the 10th man of the team, as it were. So from the perspective of somebody like Luke Jackson, it's really process over results. He had a wonderful season, frustrating at times, but all things considered, his ERA was under 2. And he even said in the post-game interview, said, I would have done the exact same thing. And when you look at that pitch that he threw to Bellinger, it's not that Luke did anything wrong. It's more so props to Cody Bellinger, the former MVP, for hitting a ball that was basically at his eyes out of the park, So from the perspective of Luke, don't change a thing. Keep doing what you're doing, process over results. For the team, most of these guys were here last year. They saw what happened when they were up 2-0, when they were up 3-1, and they weren't able to get it across the finish line. You tend to remember your embarrassments a lot more than you remember your successes. So I think that actually, I don't want to say that yesterday was a good thing, but it was just a really stark reminder, like, look, we can't get cocky. We know we're good, but we can't think that we can coast. So just be buckled down, say it's still 2-1. We still almost won that game. We still could be up 3-0. We're good enough to be up 3-0 on a team that won 106 in the regular season. And just relax. It'll be real easy to get bunched up. They need to do something today to go out there and stay relaxed, stay calm.
I was just say, Doc, and again, I think a lot of people take the macro view like you do in baseball and say, hey, just win series 2 out of 3. And a lot of people said, hey, you're up 2 games to none. Go to LA. You really just want to win 1 game. Win 1 game, and that means it comes back to Atlanta, and you will have the series lead, needing to win 1 game at home. But this is the playoffs. Is it easy to kind of take that view if you're Brian Snitker, go in the clubhouse and go, guys, we just need 1 of the next 2, and we're going to go home with a chance to win this thing?
It's hard. It's a hard sell, because you want to march into LA like, look, everybody, the fans, the players, everybody tasted a sweep yesterday up until the 8th inning, because the Dodgers truthfully had played themselves out of a lot of things. The Taylor base running mistake in game 1, the Seager botch on the Rosario liner to end the game, the drop ball by Lux yesterday. They were making mistakes that good teams just do not make. So if you're Snit, you just have to instill, like, look, same thing I was saying before. It's process over results. The changes that this team underwent after the trade deadline, that is a team that was good enough to go 15 games over 500 from August 5th till the end of the season. This is still a really good team. You don't want to just try and sell it as all we have to do is win 1, because that means you didn't win 2, you didn't get the job done. But I think also our guys want to win it at home. It would be great to win it in LA, but I think everybody wants to have our 10th man on our side as well. So if there's a way to go out and get this one today, the key today is getting the Julio Urias to get into the bullpen. And that's not even about today. We could lose today. And if we are able to put a dagger in their bullpen, because they have to do a bullpen game tomorrow, and they're already gassed. Dave Roberts has been leaning on his bullpen a lot. So today, it's not truthfully about the result. You'd love to go up 3-1, but more than anything, you got to mess with their bullpen big time. And that's the biggest thing right there. If you can get into their heads in game 4, it will do you a big favor for game 5. And whether we win game 4 or game 5, probably coming back to Atlanta anyway, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
And again, the Braves going with a bullpen game today. Don't know how Brian Snitker is going to play this as of yet, Doc. Haven't seen the lineup put out there, but some thoughts of maybe opening with A.J. Minter, Huascar Ynoa on the backside, Drew Smiley. How do you approach a bullpen game if you are the Braves? And I guess that seems to be the kind of way baseball is going, where you get down to this point and teams like, well, we have 2 or 3 guys maybe that we trust, and then we're just going to leave it up to everybody else to figure it out in one game. And we've seen it in the Astros, Red Sox. I mean, you got 2-3 good starters, and then you just kind of figure it out from there. How do you feel about the Braves and their ability to try to piecemeal this thing together today here in Game 4?
If I hadn't seen Huascar and Noah in that Milwaukee series, I would feel a lot better. Now, it's also easy to forget that last year in Game 3, when the Braves were getting just trucked by the Dodgers after that 11-run first inning, and Noah came in and shut them down. He came in, he set a career high in pitches at that point anyway. In the 4 innings that he covered, he threw like 95 pitches. He was really only stretched out to do like 55 or 60 at the time, so he kind of threw himself in front of the train and kept that series alive for us. But then in that, he broke his hand, and then if we came back, he just hasn't seemed right. So I would say I would start with a Noah, expect him to give you 2, and then just kind of maybe you could get some length out of Smiley too. But God, the Dodgers just beat his brains in a couple weeks ago. So I don't feel bad about it. I think that the capacity for things to go wrong, it's like you hear all the time. Anytime that the bullpen door swings open, it's just another opportunity for somebody to not have their best stuff. But you can't really concern yourself with one individual guy and the what ifs of it all. The good news is the bullpen for the past couple weeks of the season was actually really good. Not perfect, and they haven't been just completely brutalized in the series the way that the Dodgers bullpen has. And so you still got some guys that can give you some length. And even if we have Max Fried starting tomorrow, he's not going to go full 9 probably. So we still need to leave somebody in the tank. It's going to be a really interestingly managed game from both sides.
I was going to say, and again, I guess if you're Brian Snitker, it sounds weird, but how hard do you go after it here if you are the Braves tonight? If it's a 1-run ball game, you're behind later, you're putting out guys to push them forward. It's kind of an interesting discussion. But looking at this Braves lineup offensively, as you said, it seems like they haven't been able to get to Dodgers pitching. Kenley Jansen was nasty in the 9th, but they've had their way with Dodgers pitching throughout this series. How good do you feel about this lineup, and what, if anything, do you expect the Braves will hear on Jorge Soler? Is it a World Series or nothing at this point? Yeah, I guess they kind of keep teasing us with he's in the protocols and he could possibly maybe come back for the league championship series. What do we know there, and how much of a difference would that make having him back in the lineup?
I think it would be huge, partially because of his plate discipline, because you saw him in the first at bat of the NLDS against Corbin Burns. The whole thing was, look, this guy's probably going to win Cy Young or finish in top 3. We don't have to score off of him. We just need to get him out of the game. So Soler led off and drew an 8-pitch walk. And Eddie Rosario, who was taking his place, has just hitting out of his mind. The thing about Rosario is he's very swing happy. So he, instead of having an 8-pitch walk versus a 2-pitch, hopefully single or something, as opposed to, or maybe even getting it out, he's got his finger on the trigger. So that's one thing that you do kind of lose with Soler being out. I haven't heard anything about him necessarily being ready by the end of this series, maybe for Game 6, because that would be today, tomorrow, an off day. And I think that gets him right around in the 10-day range. But that's also, he hasn't seen live pitching. Certainly not he would see from Buehler or Scherzer or Urias or whoever's going to come out and do Game 7. So hopefully we'll get him back. And, as it pertains to something you were asking before about Snit and how much he's going to go for it, you could see him kind of playing chess yesterday when I think it was the 4th inning when the Braves scored the 4 runs and had Adrianza out on deck and then pulled Charlie back in, and he was trying to do the math and say, okay, we know we're doing a bullpen game tomorrow. We know we can't burn everybody for Game 5 when we get there, but we also look like we're going to have to cover 6 innings here. And he got lucky. Brian Snitker and Charlie Morton both got incredibly lucky yesterday by the fact that Charlie turned it around, because I don't know about you, I did not see him going 5.
Yeah.
A couple of pitches, I did not see that happening.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see how they do it tonight. Bullpen game for the Braves in Game 4, trying to win one to go up 3-1. Doc Herbert, Platinum Sombrero Podcast, our guest here on 3 and Out. Doc, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Let's do this again when we make it to the World Series. How about that?
Hey, absolutely. Doc Herbert, our guest here on 3 and Out. We're coming right back. More to come as we count you down towards some Major League Baseball here this afternoon. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here. College football tonight as well. Good matchup for you. App State hosting number 14 Coastal Carolina, 6-0 on ESPN2. The voice of Appalachian State, Adam Witten, joins us here on 3 and Out. Adam, welcome. How are you? Do we have Adam? Welcome to 3 and Out. How are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. Talk about this game tonight. Obviously, Coastal Carolina, one of the the newest member of the Sun Belt, and has made quite the name for themselves. And obviously, there's a big showdown tonight against Coastal Carolina here.
Yeah, it's a huge game, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you guys putting the spotlight on this game tonight. It's one of the bigger home games that App State has had in the regular season in recent memory. You've got an undefeated team, 14th ranked team in the country coming in, and that's enough to get people excited. But this game has a ton of stakes attached to it. The reality is App State had won 4 straight Sun Belt Conference championships up until last season, and it was really Coastal that kind of took that and halted that streak by beating the Mountaineers in Conway a year ago. Coastal ended up winning the East Division. The Sun Belt Championship game got canceled, but they really were the ones that put an end to the Mountaineers' run of 4 straight Sun Belt titles. So here's App State's opportunity to, prove something and try to figure a way to claim what they feel is rightfully theirs.
App State, one of the most consistent programs in college football, and this year a lot of people will think about that close game with Miami. Not a great performance at Louisiana. How do you evaluate Appalachian State in terms of where they are this season or entering tonight's game?
Yeah, the loss at Miami still stings because they felt like they beat themselves. The one at Louisiana is still kind of baffling, quite honestly. App's not used to getting beat like that, especially against a conference opponent. And, Louisiana just flat out beat them in that game and won that one going away. But, I still feel confident in App's abilities and what they're capable of doing. This is still a really good football team with a ton of talent. Really, the key, guys, is that they just haven't been able to play a lot of clean games. They've beaten themselves many times. And I'm not saying it was all their fault against Louisiana, but what happened was they were -3 in turnover margin. They turned it over 4 times. They were 0 for 11 on third down, and they had some inopportune pre-snap penalties to short-circuit drive. So I think if App is just able to play a clean game, limit the turnovers or eliminate the turnovers, and not have some of those pre-snap penalties that put them off schedule, then they've still got all the talent in the world to beat anybody in this conference and should beat anybody in this conference if they play their A game. But that's really going to be what it comes down to, I think, is to beat a great team like Coastal has become over the last year and a half. Mountaineers are going to have to make sure that Coastal is the team that's going to try to beat them and not the Mountaineers beating themselves.
Chase Bryce, 2 interceptions, last time, a week ago. But how well does he have to play tonight? As you mentioned, a Coastal Carolina defense that's very, very opportunistic if you throw the ball to him. But how well is Chase going to have to play tonight to try to get a big dub?
He's going to have to play well. I don't think he has to do it all himself, and that's not what they ever want their quarterback to do in Appalachian. But, like I just said, Chase is going to just have to make sure he doesn't turn the ball over first and foremost, but he's going to have to make some plays. App's offense is only successful if it can loosen up a defense that tries to key in on his running game, and to do that, you've got to be able to hit your deep shots. Chase, I think one of his greatest assets is how well he throws the deep ball. And so App's going to have their opportunities tonight. They've got to connect on them. And a lot of that falls on Chase to make the good throws. So, first and foremost, like the football, make sure that you're not giving it away. And then secondly, you've got to be able to make some plays with your arm, but they're not going to have to. I wouldn't hope that they would have to have him go out there and throw the ball 40 times in order to win the game.
Adam Witten joining us here on 3 and Out, and you look at this conference and getting the marquee matchups like that, and you speak to the growth of the conference. How big is this national spotlight game for a top 15 Coastal Carolina team against, as you said, a 4-time winner of the Sun Belt Conference, and as you know, one of the most picturesque settings for a college football game, especially this time of year.
Yeah, well, guys, it's true, especially this time of year, because not only do you have the great setting of Kid Brewer Stadium, but you've got all the leaves in bloom and all the great colors. And so the photos, the scenes from tonight's game, as people see it on ESPN2, are going to be spectacular. And I think what really sums it up well in terms of just how much this game means and the significance to this fan base is the fact that they just announced a few minutes before I came on with you guys that it was sold out. So you have a Wednesday night game, And look, we've seen the crowds at the stadium and on TV on these Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday night games. They're not great, but App just announced a sellout for a Wednesday night game. So I think that right there just tells you what the significance of this is and how much this fan base is looking forward to this one tonight.
And Coastal Carolina hasn't lost a conference game since 2019. What's it going to take for the Mountaineers to win this game tonight and beat a team that's putting up big-time numbers with Grayson McCall and Isaiah Likely and others every time they take the field?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go back to playing a clean game. That's the first thing. You know, regardless of the opponent, App's biggest priority is making sure that it takes care of itself because they feel like if they play to their potential and they execute and they don't turn the ball over, that they're going to have a chance to win any game. And so that's the first thing. But in terms of how to get Coastal maybe off its mark a little bit, I mean, you've got to find a way to get some pressure on Grayson McCall. He's completing almost 80% of his passes. He's only thrown, I believe, 4 interceptions in his entire career over a year and a half. This team just doesn't turn the ball over, and Grayson McCall makes good decisions with the football. You've got to find a way to make it difficult for him, and I think the only way to do that is to get some pressure on him. The only game this year where a team has been able to pressure Grayson and it held him to numbers, you know, maybe below what he's accustomed to over his first year and a half is the Buffalo game earlier in the year. And Buffalo lost that game by 1 possession. They had a chance to win it, but they sacked McCall 3 times in that game. They forced him into his only interception of the season, and they were getting hits on him throughout the game. That's what the Mountaineers are going to have to do tonight in order to, you know, avoid Coastal putting up the kind of numbers that they have been offensively, and they're the number 1 scoring offense in the country.
And Adam, I'm interested to get your opinion on the fact that you talk about an App State team who obviously has a very, very storied tradition. You look at the recent emergence of, a Coastal Carolina team. You got Louisiana. How is it knowing that no matter what, when it comes to the Sun Belt, I still think App State is the creme de la creme because they're who everybody's chasing?
Well, you know, the difference is, and first of all, I think it's good overall for the conference that Coastal's doing well and Louisiana's doing well, and you know, you've got some teams that are on the rise as well. South Alabama is doing well under a first-year head coach this season. So the fact that more teams are moving up and winning games and getting ranked and beating quality teams, that only helps the league. It's the rising tides lift all boats theory. And so, you know, that is what leads people to point to the Sun Belt as one of these conferences that is continuing to rise, is on the move. It's very much a stock up type of league. So, but for the Mountaineers, the thing that they've been able to do is they've been able to establish consistency. You know, they won 4 consecutive Sun Belt Conference titles. Coastal Carolina had an amazing season last year, and they're off to a great start this year at 6-0. The difference, though, in what some of these programs have done lately and what the Mountaineers have always exhibited is that consistency. That's the toughest thing to do in college football. I think with the right combination of all the right pieces at certain positions, staying healthy throughout the year, getting the right mix, you can have a great year. The question is, can you do it consistently? Can you play at that level year over year? Because App is at the point now as a program where last year they won 9 games, and that's a disappointing year. There's a lot of programs in college football that would kill for a 9-win season. And so that really, I think, is what lends to the point that you're talking about there in terms of people still looking at App as maybe the class of this conference. So credit to Louisiana and Coastal, what they've done over the last year and a half. The question is going to be, can they keep it going over several seasons? And that's what App has been able to do over the years.
Adam Witten, voice of the Appalachian State Mountaineers. They've got number 14 Coastal Carolina tonight, 6-0 on ESPN2. And Adam, you mentioned the conference there. I wanted to see if you had any thoughts. What's kind of the talking points around Boone of the discussion, social media, last couple of days that the Sun Belt might be on the brink of adding a couple more teams. The speculation: Southern Miss and Marshall.
Yeah, guys. I mean, the reports are flying all over the place, and certainly those reports are out there. I haven't been able to confirm anything because you're not going to really get anything out of the Sun Belt at this point officially, because the first thing that has to happen is anybody that wants to join the Sun Belt has to submit an application, and that's the first step, and that has not happened. So the Sun Belt is not really doing anything, and they're staying quiet because they have to wait for schools to submit applications. Now, we all can read between the lines and know that when schools submit those applications, they know what the results of those are going to be. but we haven't reached that step yet. I think what's interesting is that, with the news yesterday about the 6 new schools applying to join the American, the Sun Belt's in a great position. As I mentioned, they are a conference that is on the rise. They're playing better football. They have a much higher profile now than they did, even a few years ago. And I think that they're bound together with all their members. Nobody's going rogue and looking to join other conferences. They all believe in the strength of this league, and they're not necessarily looking to jump ship. They're looking for opportunities to make the league better. If it is Marshall, if it is Southern Miss, both of those do fit in various ways. But I think it really just speaks to the fact that the Sun Belt has gone about this the right way in terms of, their patience and waiting to see where the right opportunities to expand might be.
Do you think that from afar, when you look at the future of the Sun Belt, there's a number of teams that's kind of the model, whether it's 12 or 14, or do you think it's all kind of too fluid right now to speculate like that?
Yeah, I think it's too fluid at this point. I think certainly 12 makes sense, but I think at the end of the day, what makes sense first and foremost is having enough members to play in a conference championship game. And right now that number is at 10. And so, they're at that number now, and they can have this conference championship game, because the thing that you trade off is, yes, when you add members, you bring in more regional opportunities, you bring in better matchups, you could play more teams on a similar geographic footprint, but whatever media rights or whatever shared revenue that there is for the league gets split up amongst more people. And so that's a little bit of a balancing act in terms of whether you go to 12 or 14, but don't look at just football in this whole thing. I mean, I think the leagues become more attractive if they become better in all sports: men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball. And so there are things that will help boost the league's overall profile by not just trying to grow from a football perspective, but looking across all the various sports and seasons that come with it.
Adam Witten, the voice of Appalachian State and Coastal Carolina tonight. A little bit later, undefeated Coastal Carolina, ESPN2. Adam, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, anytime.
Appreciate it. Adam Witten joining us here, talking some App State football, and of course those, I guess we can still call them rumors of conference expansion. At least 2 schools, Southern Miss and Marshall, reported out there. Potentially others out there to go. I guess 14 might be the end game there.
Well, and I think the Sun Belt is in a really good position, and it's a testament to Carl Benson, Keith Gill, the leadership, the job they've done. And this league is, like Adam said, reading between the lines, on the verge of growth in various ways. And it's definitely exciting to think about.
At the end of the day, Kevin, I mean, it's that ripple effect. The SEC does things, and now you see it's a ripple effect all throughout college football. But yes, I mean, you get to add potentially, and I keep on using potential. The ink hasn't dried yet. Southern Miss and Marshall, that's what they're potentially saying. But I think those would be 2 huge programs, from a traditional standpoint and a location standpoint to add to already big time conference.
It expands the footprint, gives you a team in Mississippi where you don't presently have one, and up in West Virginia there with Marshall. We've got more to come here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. 3 and out. We like to consider ourselves men of many talents, BJ, but I don't know if we are as talented as Jaguars defensive end Duane Smoot, who apparently delivered a baby in the living room of his house. Got on the phone. It was 4 a.m. They were leaving to go to the hospital when his wife fell. Apparently he caught her, but the baby was like, I'm coming right now. And so he got on the phone with 911 and they talked him through. And again, I know what I would do in this situation. He said they talked him through tying the umbilical cord over the phone. No, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep it together long enough to cut the cord, tie it off, and do all that kind of stuff.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Shout out to mom and dad. That is a remarkable story. Like you said, all that happening, you're right there, you're on the phone, you're making it happen. I mean, that's incredible. That's all I know to say, Ben. That's absolutely amazing.
No, Duane Smoot, we finally get to say this, Kevin. Duane Smoot, sir, you are a beast for what you did. And at the end of the day, BJ, what are you going to do? Like, it's not like you can go anywhere. Hey, listen, y'all got to come help. No, man, you got to deliver this baby. What? Mr. Smoot, man, shout out to you.
Great
man.
job.
I mean, listen, shout out to you. At the end of the day, there are fathers, and then there's Duane Smoot.
Yeah, I was
shout out
say,
to that man.
Delivering babies? No, I'm not. I don't know if I'm.
And they're gonna have to, and wherever they living, they're gonna have to keep that house forever.
Yeah,
because of the sentimental.
Yeah,
value.
what was that conversation, sir? You're just gonna have to do this. We'll walk you through it. Excuse me, walk me through it. Not this guy, but yeah, big ups there to Duane Smoot. We'll come back, take 3 around the corner. Mike Norvell next hour as well here on 3 and Out. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out. Hour number 2 as we count you down towards some bonus baseball coverage here this afternoon, as we'll give you bonus coverage of Red Sox Astros, and then we'll give you full coverage of Braves Dodgers starting at 6:50. So get you just a little bit of extra bonus baseball this afternoon of that series between the Astros and the Dodgers going to game 5, or Astros and the Red Sox going to game 5 today as well. So a lot to get to coming up. We'll look at the Braves, who have named a starter for tonight. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Mike Norvell will join us. We'll hear from him coming up in just a little bit. Florida State head football coach. But first, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take 1. Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield out with injury this week, so they go with Case Keenum to get the start. Who is the best backup in the National Football League?
I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think, has to be in the conversation. You think about Fitzmagic, you think about doing it he's played for every team in the NFL and every coach in the NFL. So wherever he goes, he's going to have familiarity. He's going to know the scheme. He's going to know the franchise. And I know he's been, a starter and then a backup and then starter again, then a backup again. So maybe he's kind of a half backup. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is up there, veteran. He's played in the league for 20 years. But I'm also going to give a shout out to Gardner Minshew. He has done a good job, all things considered, when he's been given the opportunity. I wouldn't be stunned if we see him start some games again. And there are a number of good guys. Jacoby Brissett's done a really nice job. And if I have to pick one, I will go with Fitzmagic.
This is about resurgence, BJ. This is about a blast from the past. So I'm going to go with Geno. Whoa, Geno Smith out there with them Seattle Seahawks out there trying to find a way to get it done. But, BJ, if you're going to give 2, the best backup got to be Josh Rosen, because he's not going to play. You want your starter to be in there every single game. Josh Rosen, you talk about, I know Ryan Fitzpatrick done played for 20 teams. Josh Rosen done played for 10, and he's only been in the league 4 or 5 years. So give me Josh Rosen as my 1B, but give me Geno Smith, blast from the past, out there trying to keep them Seattle Seahawks afloat right now.
Yeah, best job in the NFL, Matt Ryan's backup. You get paid, and you don't have to do
Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Oh, that's true. BJ, that would be like your ideal situation. Matt Ryan's backup, Tom Brady's backup. Hey, I get paid, and I don't have to do anything.
You just cash the checks and watch. That's awesome.
Kyle Trask, 1 year in the league, already got a Super Bowl, and he don't have to play again because Tom Brady said, quote, I can play until I'm 50 if I want to, and he's probably going to do it.
Yeah, best.
What about Taysom Hill?
Is he the backup quarterback, or is he just a guy that comes in and changes things?
Yeah, he's a Swiss Army knife and only throw touchdown passes against Atlanta Falcons defense.
Yeah, he's the best if the Falcons are on the other side, that's for sure.
Got to throwing touchdown passes like he's a real quarterback in contract extension.
We are moving along. Take 2, the Lakers. It's all over. They lost to the Warriors in the first game of the NBA season last night. Will it be a disappointment? I can't believe we're even asking this 1 game into the season. If a team with LeBron, AD, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo don't win a championship.
Yes, and look, glad to have the NBA back, some big games tonight. But I think when you assemble talent like that, right, and LeBron is still the GOAT. LeBron is still as good as it gets. When you have LeBron James, and then you're talking about Anthony Davis in his prime, Russell Westbrook, the bench is incredible. Melo will obviously come in and give you buckets. You're talking about Rondo. I think Kent Bazemore is on that team. DeAndre Jordan's on that team. This is a stacked roster. You have, easily 3 or 4 Hall of Famers on this roster. So if you don't win a championship, I think it's a disappointment. I think that's why all of those guys went to LA to play for the Lakers. And I know you have other good teams. The Bucks looked good last night. The Nets have a lot of talent. But I still think with that talent on that team for that franchise, I think the expectation is you got to win a championship.
Yes, it's going to be a huge disappointment. I understand that Russell Westbrook is still jacking up jumpers when he can't shoot. Carmelo Anthony, I think, is 10th all-time already in scoring. If he doesn't score another point in NBA history, Dwight Howard, he's dying his hair. He's playing with the Lakers right now. DeAndre Jordan, he's out there. You talk about Bazemore, BJ. You talk about just the cast of characters. Oh, and you got AD in his prime. Yes, it will be a disappointment because LeBron James only assembled winners. LeBron James won every way he's been. LeBron James says, listen, man, I'm the point guard. You got to let me run this team. Let me run this offense. But, yes, if he can get these guys to start gelling, because I do think that the Lakers are going to definitely be the team to beat. Now, I know those boys from Milwaukee. And if you seen Giannis last night, that boy is coming. And I'm sorry, if If Kyrie's not with Brooklyn, well, they ain't going, where Brooklyn at? Nowhere. Not right now. So for me, yes, BJ and Kevin, it will be a huge disappointment because when we saw it, I know the back of that plane is lit up with Ben Gay because it's going to be lit up in the back. You got to get them joints right. I get that part. But outside of that, yes, it will be a huge disappointment because LeBron at this point, BJ, is chasing legacy and he's trying to get that coveted 5th championship with the Lake Show.
Yeah, I think after one game, maybe a little bit early to be asking that. But, when you try to assemble teams like that, just like the Nets last year who are, virtual all-star teams, yeah, it's disappointing when you don't win because that's why you go out and spend all that money and bring those rosters together. That's why you put the collection of talent together is to win that championship, so it would be a disappointment. Moving along, take 3, Dan Mullen has not named a starting quarterback for the Georgia game yet. Should Florida go with Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson for the cocktail party?
Ben, I'll be interested to get your thoughts. Matter of fact, Ben, you go first on this one, man, because I know Gator Nation wants to know what you think.
All right, Mama. And I'm talking about my mother. This is her question. I'm going to agree with my mother here, who has been saying this since week 1. It is time for AR-15 with Anthony Richardson to be the starter for 2 reasons. 1, he makes the offense better when he is out there, and 2, he has earned this opportunity. He is the reason why against them LSU, go Tigers, that y'all came back into the game, man. Emory just had to turn the corner. I understand that Emory is a good quarterback, not great quarterback. BJ, I kind of know which way you're going to go with this when you talk about who has a higher ceiling. Who gives you the best opportunity to win? Not who's been there the longest, not who knows the offense the longest. No. Who gives you the best opportunity to win? That's Anthony Richardson. Does that mean he's prone to make more mistakes? Yes, but because that also means he takes more chances. But one guy utilizes his arm and his leg, and he gives the team more confidence. For me, give me the young guy. If it's close, you go with the young guy. So I'm going to go with the young guy from Gainesville, Mr. AR-15, Anthony Richardson.
I think it's Richardson as well for the reasons you discussed. Look, Emory's done a good job for the most part and have a lot of respect for what he's done throughout his career. But I think you've reached a point where Richardson is a different type playmaker and brings that big play ability, that home run ability to the field, both as a passer and a runner. And we've seen that on a number of highlights already. And when you think about getting ready for Georgia specifically, if you're going to score on Georgia, beating Georgia, but if you're even going to score on Georgia, you're going to have big play after big play, couple of home runs at least. And while Emory Jones is certainly capable of that, I think Anthony Richardson is more likely to give you that 50-yard run, that 70-yard pass downfield. And I think there are elements of Richardson's game that are a little more unpredictable. He's had a couple of turnovers, but he's also had some of the most dynamic and impressive plays we've seen in college football this year. Has a great touch on his downfield passes. And just because you go to Anthony Richardson doesn't mean Emory Jones never plays again. But I think Richardson has earned the right to get in there, to step onto the big stage, to be the starter. And I think he brings a little something different that Georgia would have to account for in that game next Saturday.
It's a very simple question. Who gives you the best chance to beat one of the best teams in the country, right? That to me is it. Do you believe Emory Jones can beat Georgia? Do you believe Anthony Richardson can beat Georgia? Again, a tall task either way, right? I'm not saying like, oh yeah, it's just we go with this guy, we're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But as a coach, you can't say, well, who's going to allow us to lose by less? No, you don't go into a game like that. You go, who gives us the best chance to go out and win the football game? I think that's the question Dan Mullen's asking himself. And I think you go with the inexperienced, maybe higher ceiling guy in Anthony Richardson.
If Emory Jones was going to be the starter, Dan Mullen would have made the decision. Just like out there in Oklahoma, if Spencer Rattler was going to be the starter, Lincoln Riley would have made the decision. Whenever you got a starter and the head coach people that answer questions for a living start saying, well, I'm not going to go with it. That means you're going with the young guy. And guess what? You got to tell the older guy, hey, man, it's not like you haven't had your opportunity. It ain't for everybody. I tell people this all the time. It took me 4 years at Florida ready to be a starter. Just because you've been there 4 years don't mean you're ready to start. Emory, I love you. You know I do. But I got to speak for my mom on this. Shout out to my mom. I want AR-15 because if you go into the game with Emory and you lose and you say what you could have done, that is why, Dan Mullen's in the position he's in now. You need to win or look competitive in the worst. But like you said, Kevin, if you're going to lose, you better look competitive doing it. And AR-15, if you can give
Let me ask you this, Ben. Can you with a bye week, can you play both guys rotationally, or do you need to go with one guy and say, this is who we're playing against Georgia?
You can, but this ain't the defense. Excuse me. This isn't the defense to do it against, BJ. And as a guy who's tried to do the dual quarterback thing, you know what that means? That means you don't trust neither one of them. That's what people don't get about being a starter means we trust you the most. We trust you to go out there and get it done. Emory Jones only has trust because he is the first quarterback recruited by Dan Mullen and Kevin and BJ. Y'all know this. Everybody wants to look good when they make those type of decisions. Well, he's been there for 4 years and haven't played that much for a reason too. Felipe couldn't beat him out. Kyle Trask couldn't beat him out. And I'm not saying that Emory Jones isn't a talent. I'm just saying your biggest competition not only is in your meeting room, he might be better than you at what you do, and he's only a true freshman. You got to go with the young guy, and I think AR-15 just gives you a lot more, choices when you out there on the field. So got to go with the young guy. But once again, that's why I do radio. Dan Mullen, it is your decision to make. I'm gonna have to live with whoever runs out. Well, but if it's anybody other than AR-15, I am going to be highly disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I know we got 10 days to keep talking about it, and we'll certainly pick it up next week when you get ready to go there. But it's kind of interesting that both teams have at least a quarterback question. I'm not saying they have questions, a quarterback question. Do you go with Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson, Stetson Bennett, or JT Daniels if he's healthy, the guy who's got the hot hand versus the guy who would be coming back after a month off of playing? I think very intriguing quarterback questions for both of these teams going into next week.
Kevin, and Kevin, you bring up an even greater point. Out of JT, Stetson, AR-15, Anthony Richardson, and Emory Jones, only one of them has played in this game, and that is Stetson. No other guy has played in this game yet. Think about it. Not the 5 stars, not the big 5 stars, 4 stars. It was a guy that wasn't even on campus. So BJ, your cousin, might get a chance to go out there and start again because just like Anthony Richardson, he gives Georgia the best chance. Might not be the best player, but I don't even know that. Is JT Daniels a better player than Stetson Bennett? That might be the question of the year because I know he don't look the part, but his car drives just like anybody else. It just ain't the best car you ever seen. Smart cars do work, people. And they got a nice smart car up here in Athens, and that bad boy runs really, really good.
But you know what, though, Kevin, Ben, I don't think either coach is going to come out in the next few days and say, we are 100% playing this guy or that guy, because you want to keep the opponent preparing for both, right? If you're Kirby Smart, you want Florida, preparing for Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels. If you're Dan Mullen, you want Anthony Richardson and Emory Jones on the mind of Georgia. So I don't think you're going to get any clarity until right up before the game.
Those mind games, BJ. And he has both head coach needed, but Dan Mullen need a win in the worst way. Not gonna win the East, but you need something to write home about to kind of justify that $1.5 million extension in the offseason. Because thus far, against top 15 teams the last 9 games, you are 2-7, and now you got Georgia.
We've got more to come. That's Take 3. We do it every day. This time we'll come back. Mike Norvell, Florida State head football coach, will join us here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
in for us to be able to put ourselves in the best position to achieve success.
And Coach, just talk about how impressive Jordan Travers has been. Obviously, he's a guy that can always utilize his feet, but just talk about the way he's been able to add the passing game to his arsenal.
That was big in the game. I think in the very first drive, there was 2 incompletions, one tip pass, and and then a third down that we didn't convert. But then he completed his next 11 passes in the game, and his efficiency, not only intermediate passing game, but also being able to push the ball down the field. I mean, that's big for us. And you see him, his confidence is ever growing with each week and each opportunity that he gets. I thought he came out of the game as good as at any that he's played throughout his time here at Florida State, and just really excited to see him continue to grow. And he's definitely a spark plug for our offense. He had a great touchdown run. I think it was over 50 yards, and that explosiveness is going to show up. But just continuing to become more consistent in all aspects of what he's doing, and excited about how he's playing.
Coach, something you kind of mentioned there as well, the development of your program earlier, finally getting out and able to go do some recruiting. Where do you feel you're at kind of in the development of your program there at Florida State? As you said, COVID year, some people kind of look at that as maybe a lost year just because of some of the things you weren't able to do and just the way the season kind of came together. Where do you feel you're at and in the development of this program and going where you want to go?
Well, COVID definitely presented some challenges just with the opportunities to get out and see guys in person. We adapted and adjusted the best way possible that we could, but really excited about the direction of where we're headed. The guys that we've been able to bring in have been able to come in and help. I mean, there's been some transitions that have happened here at Florida State over the last few years, and we're making the most of it. We're continuing to build from the foundation of hard work, relationships, and fundamental football, and those things that we're trying to strive to show up and be able to achieve each and every day. So I mean, our guys, for us, it's all about finding the right fit for Florida State, not only who these guys are on the field, but who they are off the field, and just their determination to help get our program back to where it deserves to be. And we've got a great group here on campus, and we're excited about the guys that we're going to be bringing in these future classes.
You mentioned bringing in some guys to make an instant impact on the program. Talk about Jermaine Johnson, Coach, the Georgia transfer, who is one of the national leaders in sacks.
Yeah, Jermaine's done a great job for us, and just the way that he's worked day in and day out. You saw during his time at Georgia, the pass rusher that he could be and the impact that he could make. The thing I've been really pleased with is just the work that he's done in the run game, being able to make an impact. Whether it's creating TFLs. The effort of how he goes to work every day in practice, and the leadership that he's shown, it's carrying over to the game field, and so you're definitely excited for him and the progress that he's made, but also the leader that he's been for those guys up front.
And Coach, but obviously that young defense is making a lot of strides. None bigger than a guy from our neck of the woods, Caitlyn Delos. Talk about his play as of late.
Yeah, Caitlyn is one of the guys that has really been an up-and-comer for us, and really a bright spot in everything that we're doing defensively. Had a great off season. His mindset, the maturity of his what he's been able to do, and his growth, not only physically but also mentally, and understanding the defense, understanding where he's supposed to be, but also the guys that are around him. And he gets to play with a lot of confidence. He's got great speed. He's been a tremendous player for us, and his best days are ahead. And I'm excited about where he's trending, and just continuing to go out there and make plays.
Mike Norvell joining us here on 3 and Out, Florida State football head coach there. And Coach, you look at the league right now, the ACC. I know Clemson stumbling a little bit. Wake Forest has had a good season to this point. Where do you see the ACC and its development here 2021 as a football league with a lot of turnover all over the league?
Yeah, it's a challenge week in and week out. Everybody's pushing to do the same thing. There's a lot of talented players, talented coaches within the league, and there's been a lot of different dynamics. When you look at some of the teams that have a big number of super seniors that are coming back with that experience and the ability that brings to a roster. It's definitely a unique year, and each week you got to come and play your best game, and that's something that we've continued to challenge our guys with. We've got a handful of examples of ACC games of where we come up victorious and played really well, and times that we come up short. And being able to learn from the mistakes that we've made and the experiences that we've had, that's what's critical for us as we move forward. So it's a great league, a competitive league, and we're excited about the opportunity to continue to grow in it.
And you guys have some more spotlight games coming up in the ACC. 2 wins in a row now, Coach. Do you feel like there's some positive momentum and energy around the program as you guys get ready for that second half?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a great deal of energy and excitement about what's ahead, and for us, we focus on each day, and that's where those early experiences that we had were, it was tough, and we had a disappointing start to the season. We started off, we were 0-4. Not many people were giving us much of a chance, but our kids just continued to work. They continued to believe. They focused on just the incremental improvements in all areas that we've been challenging them and our staff to get better at, and it's starting to show up. And sometimes you just have to go through it to prove that you can get through it. And we did that with a close win against Syracuse on the last play. Been in a couple of those early in the season that didn't go our way, and to see that confidence and then to be able to go on the road, something that had been challenging for our program over the last few years, and to play the way that we did, it's just we want to continue to build upon that. Here in the second half of the season.
And Coach, I mean, I'm always interested. I mean, a brand as big as Florida State, you being the head coach, you talk about being able to go out there and recruit a little bit. I mean, I understand the X and O's, but how do you navigate it all? Because you got to deal with the alumni, you got to deal with the boosters, got to deal with the former players, got to deal with expectations. How does Coach Norvell just navigate it just on a day-by-day basis, dealing with all the the expectations, both good and bad?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. That's one of the great things about Florida State, and the reason why I came here is because of the impact that you get to make. And it's not only with your current team, but with the fan base. Our program and the rich tradition and the expectations that we have. And to be able to represent that is special. And for me, I try to be genuinely who I am. I try to do everything that I can to be an example for our players of how we should work and the standard of how we want to operate. And if a mistake's made, what are you going to show about your identity with your response? And so those are things that I try to live out each and every day. And I'm just honored to be able to represent this program and all those that have come before us and the guys that we have currently on this roster.
Mike Norvell, Florida State head football coach, our guest here on 3 and Out. Coach, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and go Noles.
Appreciate it. Mike Norvell joining us here on 3 and Out. BJ and Ben, as they're back at it after a bye week, tried to find their way there in the ACC Atlantic Division.
Yeah, and you're talking about a team that got a close, hard-fought win over Syracuse, then played really well at North Carolina, Ben, and momentum can be sometimes hard to shape during a season, but I think Florida State definitely has some, and you feel like you have a game where you're going to be Cleveland on Saturday against UMass, and then you have Clemson, then you have NC State. So Florida State's got some momentum, and I think people should be paying attention to the Noles in the ACC.
I give the Noles a lot of credit. I mean, obviously, when you lose to a team like Jacksonville State, a lot of teams would have just just say, look, man, this is not going to be the season we wanted to have. But Coach Norvell, I mean, they obviously, buying what he's selling right now. You talk about a young defense, Caitlyn Delos and those guys are kind of going out there playing good football. BJ, the law officers of Sean, of the Sean brothers right there, running the football. But Jordan Travis, the way he's been able to add the passing game to what he does, and I think that sometimes, you got to go through some rough times to kind of get, to the other side of these things. But yeah, give Florida State a lot of credit. And like you said, Kevin, the ACC, it ain't what it used to be. Somebody said, with Clemson not playing well, it's up for the taking for anybody. Florida State got a chance to make it, a really, really good season with some big time games coming up.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We got the word for the starting lineup here for game number 4 for the Braves. Going to be Waskari Noah going tonight in the start. A lot of talk about a bullpen game, BJ and Ben, for the Braves here. I know the Dodgers planning on bullpenning a game tomorrow, why it's very important, I think, for the Braves to get after Julio Urias and make the Dodgers use as many pitchers as possible. Use 9 last night. If you could use 8 or 9 again and set them up going into a bullpen game, where they're going to have to use a lot of guys again. I think that would be nice. But Waskari Noah tonight, probably looking at 2-3 innings out of Waskari Noah and then moving on to someone else.
Well, I was going to ask you that Kevin, because sometimes we hear bullpen game and it can sort of imply different things as to what the expectations are. If you're Brian Snitker, what would be sort of realistic best case scenario tonight? Is it Enoa gives you 3 full and then maybe you go to Mentor and kind of go in reverse? I mean, is that the idea?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't start with Mentor in that situation where you kind of you basically work the game, as you said, backwards, where you're going to close the first and second inning, and then you get your Waskari Noah or someone like that to pitch the middle innings, and then you start getting back on schedule with the bullpen. So nobody faces the lineup more than once or twice, essentially, when it's all said and done. But looking at it, a little bit different in the lineup tonight. So Brian Snitker, and again, a couple of ways to look at it. Do you mess with something that's been successful for you after really one bad inning by Luke Jackson? But they're mixing it up. Waskari Noah going to get the start. Dansby Swanson going to hit leadoff. Then Freddie. Then Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Eddie Rosario back to the 5th spot. Adam Duvall, Jock Peterson, Travis d'Arnaud. And then Waskari Noah. I don't think Waskar will actually bat unless the Braves are up, 5-0 or something. I don't think he's actually going to bat in the ball game tonight. But there you go, mixing it up just a little bit from last night. Maybe that's to throw the Dodgers off of their thinking a little bit. But again, Dodgers looking at a bullpen game tomorrow. It'd be nice to jump on them here this evening and make them go deep in that bullpen, win or to lose.
I mean, Kevin, do you trust Snit and his strategy? I understand. Like, this is the part. Cause I know that's been like a big talking point throughout the course of the year. Is okay. I mean, you trust Snit to go out there and put together a good lineup. But do you trust his strategy with this bullpen? Because I said this: if you pitch for the Dodgers in the postseason, they're gonna find a way to throw you out there. That's just their strategy. Regardless of whoever they're playing. But do you trust Snit in these pressure type situations trying to get a big game 3 win, against the Dodgers team that is going to come with everything?
Well, I think the big thing, and again, in baseball, then you mentioned it, much like in the NFL when you get to the postseason, in baseball, I think the big thing is don't panic. There's still a best of 7 when you get down to it. And I wouldn't go drastically changing what's worked for you all season long, game in and game out. Now, to me, this is a simple enough change where you put Dansby at the top of the lineup, maybe a little bit different than Rosario. I think it also potentially gives you some righty-lefty type stuff at the top of the lineup against Urias. And maybe you're just playing a hunch card there on that. But this is enough of a little bit of a change to not throw everything totally off. But again, I don't know if I would be rolling out a different lineup every night the rest of the series. If I'm, Brian Snitker, I would trust what got you there. And this is kind of interesting tonight. How long will they go with Waskari Noah? Again, I think 3 is probably your max. Go one time through the order and going to go somebody else. But just enough of a change, I think maybe if you want to play that cat and mouse game with Dave Roberts to say, bet you didn't think we were going to do that. And we're going to switch things up on you just a little bit with the lineup tonight.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the changes are just kind of to shake things up after what was a very disappointing finish to the game, so that instead of viewing today as sort of a carryover from yesterday, it's almost like you're hitting the reset button to a certain extent and kind of focusing on what's ahead instead of what's behind. I think it's a good compromise of, Kevin, like you said, maintaining the status quo to a certain extent, but also making a couple of changes just to kind of freshen it up. I do think the first couple of innings are going to be important, going back to that. And that does put the spotlight on Waskari Noah. You may not look at him and say, we have to have 5 innings or you have to get us into the 6th inning, but you do need him to be efficient and effective. And I think what we learned from Charlie Morton's outing yesterday is don't walk guys. I think that's the key. LA's got great players. If they're going to swing and find a gap or even hit one over the fence, I think you can manage that to a certain level. But as we saw yesterday, a solo homer, okay, you can work with that. A 3-run homer, that can be devastating. So don't give away free passes. I'll be honest with you. I've told you guys on and off the air, I don't have a great feeling in terms of the momentum of this series after what happened yesterday. But Ben, I think you've got to come out if you're Atlanta, make a statement in the early innings. You could do that with your offense. You could do it with Enoa. You could do it defensively. Not saying you got to be up 5-0, but you need to make some plays to kind of regain that momentum and that confidence early tonight.
So, BJ, you got to be yourself. Got to be poised. Got to be confident. Right? Got to be aggressive. But at the end, man, be loose. I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, Luke Jackson, he had a bad inning against the Dodgers. I don't think too many people are going to be mad at Luke Jackson. Because think about it, this is the same Luke Jackson that they asked him to do everything a couple of years ago because everybody was hurt. Here comes Luke, come out of the bullpen again. Well, who else did you have? So some of these guys, they earned what they're doing now, years prior. So I'm not mad at Luke Jackson. I mean, all right, this Dodgers team caught fire in the late innings. This is how do you, BJ, you talk about the early innings. I'm more or less focused on the late innings. I mean, you got to make sure that what happened last night doesn't occur tonight, and it's easy for me to say that, but you have proven that you can play with this Dodgers team. You are not outmatched. You're not the lesser team in this situation. I go back to what I said, Kevin. Do you trust Snit's late game, late inning decisions, because that's gonna be the deciding factor. But hey, man, it's game 4. You didn't get game 3. Try to go out there because, Kevin, as you mentioned, the goal is to get one, headed back to Truist. That one could be the night.
Yeah, and again, I think if you get one, then that makes tomorrow night very interesting because you can say, hey, well, we know we're going back to Atlanta if we lose, but you could also still wrap it up. I mean, the Braves are still in a position where you win tonight, the Dodgers are going to go Johnny Holstaff on it, and you're not necessarily going to get a number one every single inning out there. And this is a team that I think BJ has jumped on pitching a lot. And I think that would be a good thing. If you could win tonight, you go tomorrow saying, look, against their bullpen, do they have some good pieces? Yes, but we have knocked them around a little bit as well when they've gotten out of the starter's spot. And I think from a confidence standpoint, you go up there to the plate tomorrow with a lot of confidence. So to me, a very big bounce back game tonight. If you can get Urias out of the game early, offensively, I still think even with Dansby moving up to the top, you're still very, very good offensively. I would expect the Braves to go out and score some runs. They've scored in every single ball game. They haven't had just a game where they're horrendous offensively, and put some pressure on the Dodgers to feel like this is a must-get game, knowing they can't just run Max Scherzer out there tomorrow and try to lock you down for 5, 6, 7 innings.
And I think getting to the bullpen early is critical. That may be the biggest key to victory, and it's a double bonus in that you would get into the bullpen for today, and you would force those guys to throw pitches and accumulate pitches that might result in them not being available or as available to pitch multiple innings in games to come. So big hits early. If you can put some pressure on LA in the early innings, first inning, second inning, third inning, I think that's key, Ben. I really do. And if you can get into that LA bullpen, especially with the Dodgers on their heels a little bit, and take a 3-1 lead, this team has been resilient. You go back a couple of nights ago, this team has been resilient all season and in the playoffs. I think if you can prove that once again, that optimism that we all had yesterday in the 6th, 7th inning, I think it'll come back around. Christian's giving me the look like, don't do that. I'm trying to talk it into existence.
BJ, how quickly these narratives. Listen, I like this BJ not really knowing what to expect, kind of going crazy after one loss. Maybe that'll propel these Bravos to get that coveted game 3. Not game 3, game 4, but that third win of this series.
We got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll get you ready for some bonus coverage of the Red Sox and the Astros. That will take you up to 650 with our full coverage of Braves and Dodgers. So again, we'll have bonus coverage just for a little bit of the Astros and Red Sox and get you ready for full coverage of Braves and Dodgers at 650. This is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll give you some bonus coverage of the Red Sox and the Astros. We'll have that for you now. We'll lead you up to our full coverage of Braves and Dodgers at 6:50. So a couple of hours of Red Sox and Astros bonus coverage, and then Braves Dodgers coming up at 6:50. Coming up next week, BJ and Ben, you got the third annual Georgia-Florida Legends Series there at the Westin on Jekyll Island. Really looking forward to that. Great group of legends assembled for this one.
Yes. But before I get to that event next week, before I get to it, BJ, got to go back to my neck of the woods. I mean, being a former athlete, I do my best to try to shine, a light on, some of the next up. Want to go back to East Georgia State College, the Lady Bobcats, Miss Nia Lawrence. I mean, representing for the Lady Bobcats. I don't know who the dean is, but I do know she's on the dean list. 4.0 GPA. I'm never going to tell nobody what my GPA is in college because, well, I don't want to embarrass my teachers or my family. But shout out to Miss Nia Lawrence. It's hard these days finding a way to get it done on the hard court and get it done in the classroom. Shout out to Miss Lawrence. I don't know who got next, but I know who got right now. Make sure you give her all the money that she can get right now. I know right now she's trying to get a little bit more, as far as like a scholarship money. So yes, shout out to Miss Nia Lawrence getting it done. It's not about what you know, it's who you know. I know Entree Drama. She knows Entree Drama. Miss Nia Lawrence, keep doing what you're doing, young lady. And listen, if you want to cheat off somebody's paper, I would say it would be Miss Nia Lawrence.
We don't encourage you to cheat off. We don't encourage you to cheat off.
But I had to make sure, I'm doing my due diligence. But yeah, BJ, Kevin, Cam, Christian, Mark, everybody's helping me get done, get this third annual Florida Georgia Legends Series. Is going to be star-studded this year. Held at the Westin on Jekyll Island next Friday on the 29th. I mean, Carlos Alvarez is going to be there. Willie McClendon is going to be there. Washawn Ely is going to be there. It's going to be, you're going to get a chance to come out there and see some of your favorite athletes to ever come through the Florida and Georgia game. And then, you got, it's Carlos Alvarez, football royalty. You're going to be able to take some pictures, going to be able to sign some autographs. And look, Kevin Thomas is going to be there. So for those of you who say, hey, never got a chance, those of you who didn't get a chance to meet Kevin Thomas in 3 years ago, Kevin Thomas will be there taking pictures, signing autographs, and BJ will be there too.
The highlight of the whole weekend.
Listen, and BJ will be there as well, author of a new book, Uncommon and Unfinished. BJ, Kevin, Cam with a K, PJ with a P, Christian with a C. No, it's the Florida Georgia Legends Series, third annual, and I'm looking forward to it, man. A shout out to everybody, man, who helped a young man from Swainsboro, Georgia, dreams come true by paying homage to the ones that came through this beautiful game.
Well, and just so many stories. I mean, incredible stories. And, we've gotten to hear you tell the story of the 2002 catch over Thomas Davis so many times. And Ben, I'll sum it up. It goes like this, right? I caught it. I was tired. I went to the bench. I mean, isn't that basically it? But no, but to hear you and Carlos Alvarez and, Jeff Chandler, Washawn Ely, Willie McClendon, D Webb, DJ Jones, talk about their moments in this rivalry that's so unique, so special, so competitive, so many big moments. Championships have been decided by what's happened down in Jacksonville, and it's a special rivalry, and it's just an incredible perspective that we get to share, we get to hear, and really looking forward to next Friday night over at the Westin Jekyll. Be on the seaside patio, and like you said, a chance to take pictures, get autographs, and hear firsthand from some of the best players to ever play in the rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely free to come to as
yes.
well. So that's
$3.99. Yes.
Yeah, another good positive of that as well. So we encourage you to do that. Coming up next week as we get ready for Georgia and Florida. We'll be at the Westin on Jekyll Island for the Georgia-Florida Legends Series next Friday. Hope you'll come out and join us for that. We've got baseball coming up tonight, fellas. Hopefully tomorrow on the show, we're talking about 3-1 Braves and not necessarily 2-2. We will see what Waskari Noah and company can get done tonight, and we'll have that for you coming up 6:50. But first, a little bonus coverage right around the corner of Red Sox and Astros. You feeling good, BJ? You look a little tense.
Uh-oh.
I mean, feeling good. Look, I was feeling good in the seventh inning last night, and I am still feeling pretty good. The Braves still have the advantage in the series. I think you should take the field with confidence tonight. I like some of the subtle changes that have been made. It's going to come back to Atlanta, a chance to win it at home, but get off to a good start. I understand what you're saying, Ben, about the late innings and kind of the crunch time play, but I think first, second, third inning, we're going to get a feel for how this game's going to go tonight. Keep an eye on Ozzie Albies. I think he might have a big hit early in the game.
I'm not superstitious. I didn't watch game 1, we won. I didn't watch game 2, we won. I watched a little bit of game 3, we lost. I will not be watching tonight. And no, that has
ain't no
nothing
curses.
to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. But all I was asking Christian last night was how you think Kevin's dealing with his team goes. Kevin's probably at baseball practice, but if he's watching online, he is not liking what he's seeing at this current point. But hey, man, Braves, go out there and get it done, man. Nothing like a cushion. 3-1 against them. 3-1 against them Dodgers makes it a total different series.
Yeah, bonus coverage coming up. Red Sox and Astros here in just a couple of minutes. They'll get first pitch underway, and then at 6:50 we'll get you out to Braves and Dodgers full coverage leading up to Game 4 tonight. And we will see you tomorrow here on 3 and Out.